This podcast is proudly sponsored by Gyro Drilling. They provide world-class drilling solutions for all types of projects. They specialise in auger, aircore and RC drilling. Head to the team at Gyro Drilling for all your mining needs and see how they can help you with your upcoming project.
So hello, I'm Ben Kostrich and this is the Marketbull podcast. Joining me on the show today is Wayne Healy, the Managing Director of Peninsula Energy, which is listed on the ASX under code PEN. It's in the uranium space in North America, and I'm not going to talk much more about it. That's why Wayne's here. So welcome to the show, Wayne.
Thanks, Ben. It's great to be joining the program today.
It's a pleasure to have you again. We had to negate a bit of a time difference, but I love having you on. And it's my first time speaking with you, but I've heard of the company for quite a numerous amount of years. So talk about your history first and foremost. What's your exposure and history within the mining and uranium and enrichment side of the world? So talk to us about that, please.
Thanks, Ben. Well, unfortunately for me, I'm a career tragic uranium guy. I've spent my 36-year career in uranium production here in the United States. I came out of the university with a degree in metallurgical engineering with a mineral processing emphasis. My first job out of college was at a uranium mill, producing uranium. And there's something about uranium that draws you in and keeps you in. And despite the ups and downs, and mostly downs of the market over the past 30 years, I've had opportunities, to grow in supervision and management and ultimately executive roles. But fundamentally, at my core and my strength is a strong technical knowledge of the chemistry and process engineering for the production of uranium. A vast part of my career, I've worked on the in situ recovery side of uranium. Peninsula Energy is an in situ recovery focused company. So I'm at home here at Peninsula, doing what I've done for the vast majority of my career and leading an exceptional team.
Yeah, we'll go through in situ recovery. For many, it may be unfamiliar, but what path initially brought you to Peninsula Energy in the first place? That you've seen the ups and downs of the industry and probably worked across a whole range of different, as you said, positions and experiences. But what was the path that led you to Peninsula?
Well, for people familiar with the uranium past, the period time frame 2005 to maybe 2011, right? Up until Fukushima and maybe even a little bit beyond that was a period known as the Uranium Renaissance period. During that time, I had already invested quite a bit of my professional life in uranium, and I had the opportunity to serve in another company called UR Energy as the person leading a team that was building a new mine in the state of Wyoming where I reside. So with UR Energy, we built a new mine. And then Fukushima happened, before the new mine was put into production, and that really put a downward spiral on the uranium price and markets for a good period of time. 2013, 2 years after Fukushima, we had the final licenses and constructed and started up the operation of the Lost Creek mine, and it was a success. But it was, I like to say, the baby was born into the depression. And it was a challenge. It was sad to have invested, 7-8 years of your life into producing something so wonderful and have it born into a bad market. I took a break and went into consulting. I had opportunities to relax a little bit after such a long and difficult run of building a new mine. And my consulting career took me to Peninsula Energy, where in 2015 and early 2016, they had just started the Lost Creek, the Lance mine, and there were some struggles with it technically, and so being a consultant in a profession and knowing it well, they asked me if I would take a look. What I saw was very interesting. They had the largest uranium resource in the United States. in a project that was only a few hours from my home. And they were doing in situ recovery, but it wasn't working as expected. And I took a technical deep dive with them, and the ultimate result of that was I respected the deposit. I saw it as one of the largest and most interesting projects around. And I said, sure, I'll help you with this technical problem, and we'll go do a turnaround. We're gonna spend some time together, correcting the technical issues, and put this project to be all that it can be, to be a leading uranium mine in the United States. And I said, for the next step of my career, that's what I wanted to do. I had just built a mine with a fantastic team at Energy, and then I knew that Peninsula also had a fantastic team. So I was stepping into a position where people I liked worked there, people I knew and respected, and together we were going to turn it around. So that's the start of the journey for me with Peninsula. Was a technical eye as a consultant, ultimately invited to join the company as CEO to lead a turnaround.
Yeah, and if I may, I mean, this process has been going on for some years. So when was this initial sort of technical role? When did that start? Because that sort of paints a picture of how long this has been sort of unwinding and growing over this extended period
Well,
of
right.
time.
Yeah. So I really I came to Peninsula as a consultant late in 2016, but where they were close to a year into their initial production run, and it was April of 2017 when my appointment was announced, that that I was brought to the forefront as the new CEO of the company. So then we still had, we had an idea what we had to do, but we had to test, prove, and really fundamentally appreciate the technicals before we went out and said, maybe Lance would be better if we weren't using alkaline chemistry, but it would be better with the low pH chemistry, which is used elsewhere in the world, Australia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. A lot of the world's leading uranium producers use the low pH or acidic chemistry in situ applications. But the United States industry, the one that I was born and raised into, used alkaline chemistry, which is, neutral pH at 7, 8, alkaline chemistries. But we knew that, uranium can be dissolved into solution multiple ways in alkaline chemistry and low pH. And low pH chemistry tends to be a more aggressive and comprehensive approach. But the U.S. industry had always practiced the alkaline chemistry. And so one of the bold things that Peninsula did was take a
different approach.
Different approach to say we're going to be the first people in the United States to use the world's leading chemistry set. Why, and what's wrong with that, except that all the world and all the markets are going to respond to say, well, oops, you got it wrong the first time. Why'd you get it wrong? What'd you do? And, how are you going to fix it? How long is it going to take? What's it going to cost? And I don't want to invest in you until you fix it. So, that wasn't not an easy path, but I told you coming in, Ben, that, that my entry into the company, I had a full appreciation that what we were undertaking was a turnaround story. And today we're about to begin commercial production using the low pH chemistry. And we're going to show the world what that can do, because it's amazing to me.
Well, casting my mind back, 2016, 17, you said there was your entire career, there's been the ups and downs of uranium, and especially 2016, 17, vastly different to what it is currently, knowing that North America still has nuclear reactors and was using it, but not to the extent that now people are talking about it. Going through now, looking at what's really evolved within arguably nuclear tailwinds for Peninsula, have you seen shift since, 2016, 17, changing the strategy to now 2024, where you're on the cusp of going into the production and you've got this immense tailwind and this just outreaching demand coming from
Yeah.
all countries all across the globe, which thinking back then you would have been like, this would have been lucky, but how about it
hmm
now? It's all
Well,
coming to the market.
yeah, I mean, I can't say I saw this coming. I would say that here in the United States, we could usually count on, half the people or maybe one of our political parties to support nuclear energy and the other not so much. The fear of nuclear, which still is pervasive around the world, uh, you know, was prominent for the first 20, 25 years of my professional career. It really wasn't until the focal point on carbon-free electric generation became so strong, became so prevalent in the world that the embrace of nuclear power, which is our primary customer as a uranium miner, uh, became socially acceptable and now really almost the norm. So a utility can openly look at nuclear power and say we need to grow our nuclear fleet because that produces baseline um, reliable carbon-free electricity for the consumers at a really a reasonable and low cost. So, what's changed in the last 10 years is that nuclear has become accepted very broadly. And in the United States, both political parties are supporting nuclear for its clean energy attributes and for its baseline attributes and for the jobs and the quality of the jobs that it generates. But that's also happening around the world, and even to the point that, well, in Australia, you have a major political party that is going to give it a shot, huh? Yeah,
Yeah,
say
it literally took the words out of my mouth. Australia probably on the smaller side of the market scale in regards to how much we need, but now it's being vocalized a lot more in the mainstream, and it's that turning point where everyone's looking towards this renewable energy system, and nuclear has to play a part in that. But it's just that
Mhm.
phase of
Right.
realizing it is a
You know,
safe source of it.
that's right. I can say, though, even just as recently as 2017, when I joined Peninsula, this wasn't the case. This just wasn't. And what uranium was $30 a pound. Today we're trading 85. We reached 107 early in the year. I think the price will move back. The North American summer, which we're in right now, is traditionally a slow season for purchasing uranium. I mean, the United States still constitutes about a quarter of the world's market for requirements for nuclear fuel and uranium. And this is our summertime, and Canada is there, and we're enjoying a little bit of downtime, here and there. And come fall, come September, that really kicks off a buying season. I think we'll see more activity in the uranium market, but for the next couple of weeks, it's still predictably slow, um, and but stable. And look, yeah, I've seen late last year the price of uranium went from $60 to 100, and I think we've kind of hit a new base price
Mm.
that's in the mid 80s to 90s. So again, another 30% increase in the price of uranium. Previously, there was a base that was running $20 to $30, and it reset around 60. Now it's gone and reset from 60 to 80. This uranium market bull run is not over, Ben. It's
Mm.
there's no signs of it stopping. There's a structural deficit in the production of uranium versus demand. Demand is very predictable because you don't build a nuclear power plant overnight. You know where the nuclear power plants are. You know who your customers are, and you know how much they need. And it's one of the easier things to predict in the market is the demand. The supply is the hard thing. You know, building a uranium mine, putting a uranium mine on, and getting production is a hard job. And the customers are looking for companies that can reliably produce over a long term and be a supplier to them. And I believe that Peninsula will be one of them because we have such a large uranium resource.
Well,
And
that's
and
the
we're
exciting bit. Yeah, that's the exciting bit now, isn't it? That all this timing is sort of colliding with Peninsula coming into production in Q4, as you said. Talk us through the Lance project for those that have never heard of it. You said it's quite a large resource for American standards as well. Yeah, what is this project? Where is it? And yeah, going into production is a massive accomplishment. So yeah, talk about that whole process and what people can get excited about, given you were just there a couple of
Yeah.
hours ago and now you're speaking with me.
was. Well, and boy, is it exciting at the site right now. We have, well over 100 people on the site every day preparing the project for construction. We were pouring concrete earlier today for the first time in a bit, and that's the supports and beams for the new plant facility or the expanded plant facility that we're building. But Peninsula and the Lance projects, it's located in the northeast corner of Wyoming in a uranium district and a mining district known as the Powder River Basin. The Powder River Basin in Wyoming is an amazing location. It's got some of the world's biggest coal mines, and producing the cleanest coal in the United States. And that's an hour away from our facilities is a town called Gillette, where we draw a lot of our labor from, which has been a coal mining and energy capital forever. We have oil and gas production. We have uranium production. And, Gillette is like an energy capital. Wyoming produces more energy resources through its oil, gas, coal, and uranium than any other state. It's amazing. So we're in this tier 1 jurisdiction for mining and extraction, where the people really understand the extractive industry and what makes it tick, and they support it because the jobs, the economies are based on the extractive industry. So Peninsula took and brought grassroots stake claims and established the Lance project in the northeast corner of the state, in an area where in the early 1970s there was some uranium drilling and even a little bit of uranium production activity nearby. There was historical drill data that said there's uranium trends along this area, and a period of time where I was doing other work with other companies and getting other projects ready for production. Peninsula went out and staked and claimed and spoke with landowners and established this really large land package, 37 kilometers north to south, 8 kilometers wide, and then went out and started drilling and establishing, and they grew the uranium resource through drilling from what initially they thought was 6 to 8 million pounds became 53 million pounds by drilling. And suddenly this contiguous land package that they had more uranium on it than any other project in situ project in the U.S. I'm used to seeing projects that have 5-10 million pounds, and you always question, am I going to build a big plant and process it for the 5-10 million pounds? Here Peninsula sits with 53 million pounds at the time, and they say, but look, where we close space drill, where we do the more detailed drilling to get our resources up to measured and indicated resources, we're increasing the quality of the resource through closer space drilling. Every time we do that, we expand the resource quantity as well. And they took long linear trends from that defined by short or wide space drilling, and they drilled them in and got to know the true nature of it and expanded the resource, fivefold, so 3 to 5-fold, by drilling in an area. That area would grow in resource. So we have all this inferred resource in a part of our project that we call Barber. There's about 32 million of the 58 million pounds that we have defined is largely inferred resource, and the exploration potential. History does sometimes repeat itself, but it's not promised. If and when we have the time and the money to go down there and drill, the potential for us to turn those 30 million pounds into 100 to 150 million pounds is there. And this excites me. This to me is, we need to focus today on putting the project into production, so we're generating cash so that we can go and do the next most exciting thing, which is grow the resource. We can do it systematically, just replacing the resource as we mine, or we can go down there and in a drilling campaign and maybe take this 58 million pound resource and turn it into a 100 million pound resource. This is all forward looking, but this is the track record that Peninsula had, when they had money to spend on drilling. And this is what, people ask me, why are you trying so hard on a project that was technically not so excellent? I said, because I know how to make it technically excellent, and I think it has the most potential of anything around. I know it's a difficult job turning around a project, but we understand this place. We understand what it's going to take, and we take the long, hard path of taking a valuable asset and making it more valuable.
Well, I liked what you said there about, again, the priority is the production, getting sales, because then once cash starts coming through, then the next phases of growing this potential resource is just, it licking your lips sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
talking about the sales, I'm always curious. There's a lot of people that talk about, how do you sell yellow cake and the product into the market? And speaking there, clearly there's a thought process from Peninsula about how this goes into the market once you're in production. What are the plans there? Is it going straight to the market? Have you already locked up agreements with some of the uranium or the nuclear plants in the US, or what's happening there, and how are you best going to position it so that, touch wood, that hopefully nothing else happens sporadically with uranium? But I know a lot of the lithium bulls out there have been struggling at the moment because of how much that's come off its price. And I think we all know when prices run way too high, it always comes back down to normalize. How do you feel that you guys, Peninsula, are going to position yourself and capitalize on that? But yeah, who are you selling it to?
Yeah, well, our customers are the nuclear utilities of the world. It's not hard to get a list of who that is, and it's not hard to really know who the fuel buyers in the fuel buyer community is, because I've been a part of this community now for over 30 years, 36 years of my life. I have a Rolodex, right?
I'll feed that.
But I mean, who buys uranium for who, and which nuclear utilities. But and it's a relationship business. We spend a lot of time going to conferences together, talking about our plans, our capacities, where they align. Who needs uranium when, and who has uranium to sell and when. Peninsula has a sales portfolio that represents about 6 billion pounds of future sales. With an ambition to put Lance online this year, or late this year, and maybe produce 1 million pounds in 2025, bringing it up to closer to 2 million pound a year rate before the end of the decade by continuing effort. We have about 40% of the material that we expect to produce in the next 10 years committed into contracts. And so, how do you sell uranium? There's really, for simplicity's sake, the world is bifurcated the markets into the contracts, the term contracts, which we have some of, and the spot market, which is really the price that we always look at. Today, the spot price is about $85 a pound, which means if I had an extra 100,000 pounds or 1 million pounds of uranium, I could go into the market today and sell it and get $85 for it. I'd be, transaction would close in 2 weeks, and I'd be paid by the end of the month. That's the spot market. The spot market's kind of considered deliveries that happen in the next 3 to 6 months, sometimes as much as far out as a year. And then you start looking at, the reality is there's a midterm market. There's some buyers who will say, I need some material for the next 3 to 5 years. Give me a strip, 100,000 pounds, 200,000 pounds a year. Give me a price, we'll start it in 2 years, and you'll deliver it in year 3, 4, and 5, whatever, something like that. That's midterm market. And the pricing is usually based around the spot price, little incentive to the producer to commit their production, and then there's the long-term market, the contract market that we have some, participation in. Our contracts actually now still go out over a decade. We have delivery out 10 years from now in some of our contracts. So the year 2033, we have some commitments. But hey, this
Yeah.
project could run for 20 to 30 years. This is that's not really so imposing once we get it right and going. We have, some commitments out 10 years from now. That's a good thing because you know what you're going to get. You really have a good sense of what your operating costs are going to be. And then, as long as those prices are supportive, it's good to know that you have contracts that support your future mining efforts, and that you're not going to be a flash in the pan up operating, and then when the market goes down, the spot market goes down, and suddenly you're not producing anymore because the market's not supporting you. The beauty of long-term contracts is that they support you over the long term and ensure that your investments are returned.
Well, it's a win-win for them. They're trying to lock up supply, and then simultaneously they want to make sure that they can continuously get it and from the company, or the producer doesn't just disappear overnight. And there's a lot unfolding when you go into production. Where do you see that placing Peninsula on the global stage, or maybe the American stage, as one of these players that is bringing uranium and yellowcake to the market?
Yeah, well, we will, if successful in our production endeavors to ramp up Lance to 2 million pounds a year, we will be the largest production in situ recovery production center in the United States at that point. There's some conventional uranium production that has license and facility capacity to exceed 2 million pounds a year. We actually have a license capacity of about 3 million pounds a year. And we're not planning to stop at 2. We just, we know that we need to learn to walk before we run. We're going to,
That's cool.
we're going to set our ambitions where they can be achieved and not disappoint. We're going to get the 2 million, and then we'll say, hey, if the market's still good, let's start, investing our profits into, growing the mine to 3 million pounds a year. We have plenty of resource. We have, plenty of opportunity to do that. We have a license to do it. But, in our current 10-year plan, we're just looking at 2 million pounds a year, even though we have a license for 3, and we're building in the design features of the new expanded plant. And we haven't really talked about that yet. We're growing our plant facility from a 1 million pound a year facility to a 2 million pound end-to-end complete plant facility. But it has the design features to be easily expandable to 3. So we're looking forward and looking ahead to the future. Again, what's the point of having 50 or 100 million pounds of resource if you can't get at it? And why would you mine 100 million pounds at 1 million pounds a year?
Yeah, no, it's forward thinking naturally. It's got to be, otherwise the money required to start and develop this project isn't small, and you want to build it so that you can grow and quickly, start extracting and utilizing more of the resource. Otherwise, why bother? So
what are you doing?
Of course,
what are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Think about that.
I mean, alongside you, the strategy, even initially going back to 2016, of changing to pH that are alkaline for the in situ, and all of this requires a fair bit of forward-thinking strategy from the team and yourself. And I want to pick your brain a bit more about why was this so important for you guys? You said it was the number 1 around the world, but America wasn't really involved in it. What was the team's decision? Who is part of the team now? But how well do you think that's benefited Peninsula now in the long run, given that arguably I'd assume there's potentially a few others that have also followed suit or now following suit, given what Peninsula has been doing?
Right. Well, for us, I mean, and again, it was a technical issue with the alkaline chemistry set. We weren't getting a full uranium recovery from the formation, and it really, as a consultant, the question that was posed to me is why? Why do you think, Wayne, that this isn't working as well as we expected? So I looked at how they applied. The team applied the alkaline chemistry, and they were very good. I mean, these are experienced people from the industry that I've known and worked with and admired for a very long time, and they were doing an excellent job applying the chemistry. So I said something else is wrong, and we looked at the uranium mineralogy of this deposit, and it was actually a particularly different a bit of mineralogy, and we recognized a uranium mineral present that isn't commonly present. I mean, it wasn't all of the uranium, but it was a part of it. So they were able to get most of the uranium, but they were leaving some behind, and the alkaline chemistry wouldn't touch it. But the recognition was, hey, the low pH chemistry does. And if we change to low pH chemistry, we can get all of the uranium mineral instead of most or part of the uranium mineral. So that'll change you from being, getting 60% recovery to getting 80 to 90% recovery, which really enhances your return on investment. When, you put a lot of capital into building well fields, it enhances your uranium solution grades, So we said, technically, this is what it is. And now let's go and prove that if we apply it in the laboratory, it's going to work. Let's de-risk it first in the laboratory. And we tested in the laboratory, and night and day results. I mean, the side-by-side alkaline chemistry to the low pH chemistry, that was night and day. The low pH was just working fantastic. Then we said, all right, but we got to further de-risk this. Let's make sure we can do it in the field. And said, nobody in the United States has ever done this in the field. So once we went public with our intention to go to a low pH, my good friends in the industry said, Wayne, you're tilting at windmills. You're never going to get this. This is one of those things that, he said, yeah, but it's the absolute right answer, and we have to make it work. And here, to the team's credit, there are people at Peninsula who have worked around the world. They've worked in Kazakhstan. They've worked in and overseen and looked at projects everywhere that in situ recovery was, and they were involved in low pH chemistry projects. And and when the idea was presented that we would switch to low pH, they said, I get it. Let's do it.
I know what to do. Yeah.
And that was a difference maker for Peninsula, was that we had the right people to make it happen, who understood it, who've been around it, and weren't afraid of it.
Yeah.
Said, we're going to be able to do this, and I understand, and I see it, and I know it's going to work better. So let's go after it. And we had to re-permit the facility, to change the chemistry, and we had to build part of the facility, which we did. And then we were about ready to start up in the middle of 2023, and one of our key service providers said, and we had a satellite facility in our industry. That's a plant where you can load the uranium on resin, and then you ship the resin to another facility for processing to yellowcake. So we had built, our Peninsula had built initially a 1 million pound a year capacity satellite facility. And we were getting ready to restart in the middle of 2023 when the service provider, the folks that we were going to send our resins to, said, hey, the uranium market's hot. We want to save the capacity for ourselves. Sorry, we're going to give you notice. And so we had to defer our dream. And we had to undertake, to tell the markets, guys, we're not going to get started this year. We have to build that facility for ourselves. Fortunately, it is in our license to do so, and it's our rights to. So, we're going to have to come back to you, tell you how much time, how much money. And this is it's a long and difficult journey. Starting a mine. Anybody can dream to start a mine, but to do it, you've got to know that you're going to put your heart and soul into this for a long time. And we have, and we've been fortunate to have investor support, that, people know that and appreciate that we know what we're doing. We've had a couple of bad breaks. So in late 2023, we raised some capital and, enough to build the new plant facility. And we set out to get going to designing and building the new plant facility. In May this year, we broke ground and started the construction of the new plant facility. That plant facility is going to, double our production capacity from 1 million to 2 million pounds a year. And it's going to give us the capability to produce the finished product. So we're not relying on an industry peer, a third party, to do processing for us. We'll be an independent end-to-end producer of uranium. That's going to, improve our cost profile. It's the right move. And in a market like this, it just, what it meant was we had to redefine our project and finish what we started and build the whole process instead. So today, like I said, out at the site, they're pouring concrete. We have the designs, we have equipment procurement, underway. We have a laydown area with ion exchange columns, vessels, the product dryers getting refurbished. We have filter presses and everything, major equipment's ordered. It's a buzz of activity. There's 40 to 50 people on site doing construction. We have over 50 employees. A lot of them are preparing new well field areas. We have 10 drill rigs drilling, where we were down to 1 or 2 for a period of time. So we've ramped up drilling and we're getting more well field areas ready for production. There's about 40 people working on the drill rigs. There's so all told, we probably have, closer to 100 contractors and 50 employees. And the site is a buzz of activity, and it's exciting and fun to see, the investors' money being deployed efficiently. And our objective is to have that plant ready for production at the end of the year and start feeding it and building up a uranium inventory and getting ready for our first sales in the first half of next year.
Yeah, I mean, every time you're going to be going down there, it's going to be completely different given how quickly this is all unfolding, and the notion that this will be completed before the end of the year. As you said, saying 1 million up to 2 million sounds great until you can actually see it and physically see the building and be like, oh my God,
That's right.
that is what is happening. And I mean, going forward, there's massive potentials for Peninsula, and I always like to sort of have that outgoing outlook for people. So for the next 12 months, as an investor, as a listener of some uranium bull, for example, what can they really anticipate coming from Peninsula Energy over the next 12 months, and what can people get excited for besides all the construction?
I could tell you, because we have the funding in place. One of the things that was really important to us was that we raised enough capital to not only build and construct the facility, but then to start it up, to have the early OpEx and ongoing sustaining CapEx in our pocket, so that, as we built uranium inventory and got product ready to go to market, it takes 6 months, but we weren't going to have to stop and raise more money. So, we raised enough money now to be fully funded into the point where we're projecting, we should be able to achieve free cash flow positive on a consistent basis with the money that we have on hand. This is exciting, but, what can investors expect from us? I've recounted for you the rocky road that we've been on. And it meant that we haven't always been the darling of the markets. And in fact, when other uranium companies' share prices were soaring with the upward price of uranium, we weren't necessarily at a position where investors wanted to say, this is the company I'm going to put my money in. So, we didn't enjoy, the increase in the share price that everybody else did. But now we're at a point, we put all the pieces in place. We've never been in a better position. We have the money, we have everything's happening according to plan. And we're at the point that, when the other companies started to run, they were at this point. So what do you have to look forward to is consistent and regular news flow on the progress of the construction and preparations of the facility between now and the end of the year. The early news on the ramp up, and then the ramp up of production, which, for me, I'm a lifetime operator of uranium mines. I like making it. That's my answer. And I have a strong conviction that we'll be successful because I still have that core excellent team, and I have, new people and new blood and enthusiasm. This company right now, like I said, it's in the best position it's been in, but the share price doesn't reflect that yet. So as an investor, if you like a good value story and a strong market, you got to take a second look at Peninsula today. So many people have looked at us and said, "Oh, not yet, not yet." And I'm telling you, look, I heard you. I know why. We've answered the bell. And we've come out and, we've done what we had to. And this company is going to go places. This is the time to look at it.
Yeah, I've never spoken with a managing director or a CEO at this point of the uranium side of just literally going into that massive scale
Yeah.
production, which is super exciting. You can hear it in the way that you're speaking. And for those that are intrigued by this, as I expect many should be, there's the ASX where all the news comes, but how else can people engage and connect with the company, potentially reach out and ask questions and all of those that now, investors are more than happy to do. Where can they go? Where can they find you guys?
Yeah, well, in the coming weeks, I'm happy to tell you that, you could tell I'm not Australian. I am the managing director of an Australian listed company, but you know why I'm here is because this is the world that I live in. It's my
Mm.
expertise. But in the coming weeks, I'll be coming over to Australia. I'll be going to Diggers and Dealers, and you can go find me there. We're gonna come to Kalgoorlie, have a good time yourself. You'll find me, answering questions and happily telling you about the progress and longing to be back home where the progress is so visible and the excitement of the site. I've been out to the site the last 2 weeks, and I'm going back next week, and then the week after that, I head to Australia, to go in and do a little bit of a road show, and then off to Kalgoorlie for Diggers and Dealers, and then the fall schedule for me, I'm going to be at investor conferences. This, like I said, this is the time people have to look at Peninsula and understand that we're an emerging growth story that's still a value at our current share price, and we have the opportunity today to take a very good run.
There we go. And I've seen there's all the social pages as well. But yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much, Wayne. This has been a very comprehensive look at Peninsula Energy. As you've said, and as I know, many people have seen it over the years and said this is a turning point, a new page in the chapter for Peninsula Energy. And, those predispositions of what the company was is not applied to what it is now. But everyone's going to go in with a fresh set of eyes. And this is quite exciting. So thank you so much for speaking on the show today with me, Wayne.
Ben, it's been my pleasure, and thank you for inviting us on to share our story.
Thanks for listening to the Marketbull podcast. Please remember that the topics and stocks discussed in this podcast are not financial advice. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, share, and follow. You can follow the Marketbull on all our socials and keep up to date with global market insights.